Hello, welcome back to Grim Survival. Today we're talking about food, but first let me just tell you about how bad traffic was. Well, no, I'll spare you, but I'm 2 hours late to where I'm supposed to be because of traffic. Traffic's just, when a little bit of water falls from the sky, people just start bouncing off of each other like a bunch of idiots. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, we're talking about food today because I talk about food a lot because usually by the time I'm here where I'm being unloaded, which is why I'm bouncing as usual, but by the time I'm here, I'm usually fairly hungry, so that's why I talk about food constantly. I haven't had my lunch yet. So anyway, we're talking about food procurement today. How to get food in SHTF or after SHTF would be the more feasible thing here. And we're probably looking about the 2 week mark because your average person, average being people who actually listen to the news and the government, they're being told now to store at least 2 weeks worth of food. So I would say about 2 weeks after is when they're going to start running out, and that's when they're going to start going out looking for food. And this could save some lives or save some time. The first thing I want to tell you is, well, first off, I want to say I don't condone theft, looting, thievery, any of that. I'm not telling you to go do this, but if you go do it, that's on you. So if you get shot, don't blame me. Don't last breath saying that, hey, that guy from Grim Survival told you to do this. That's not my fault. So if you die doing any of these things, not my fault whatsoever. Just saying. All right. So about 2 weeks after SHTF, no matter what your scenario is, it's going to be a massive food shortage. 2 weeks later, you're probably going to see a pretty good die-off of people. People that just don't know how to get water, for example. People whose medications have run out. It's a whole list of things of why people are going to die in any kind of prolonged situation. Now, if you go 2 weeks without any food in the grocery store and any government assistance whatsoever, they're not bringing you MREs, they're not bringing you water. Can you really survive past that 2 week mark? Most people, probably not. When we're talking the general population, probably no. And now that we're facing a war with Iran and World War III everybody's talking about, and all the EMP threats and nuclear threats, having a food supply and knowing how to procure food after the fact is really going to be some valuable skill sets. So first off, homes, people's houses. If you are desperate, you are hungry, you are dying of starvation, dying of thirst, and the only thing around you is somebody's houses, I mean, you could knock on doors here and there, but like I said, after the 2 week mark, there's probably going to be a lot of death. So you probably know if anybody's in the house or not just by the smell when you get to it. If it smells like death, there's probably dead people inside. If you've never smelt death before, well, you'll get there. So I wouldn't suggest going into people's houses, whether you assume they're dead or not. I just wouldn't suggest doing it. Walking into a house is suicide, in my personal opinion. It's a death trap. Even if nobody is alive inside the house, you still got to contest with the feces, the body rotting, rigor mortis. I mean, you're talking diseases rapidly spreading. I mean, you've heard of the Black Plague, right? So that being said, well, the other reason not to go into a house is just all the variables. If maybe there is a dead person inside, but maybe their 6-year-old still alive, and their 6-year-old now has the gun that was next to him and shoots the first thing that walks through the door, which happens to be you because you walked through the door, came through the window, or however you decided to break into this home. So just going into a house in general, there's too many variables. You could come around any corner of any room and you just don't know. Somebody could be there with a gun, somebody could be there with a knife, somebody could be there with a baseball bat, and you just might not survive that situation. And we should talk about blowout kits and SHTF because I have some opinions on that, but that's a different video. So skipping houses, just skip your houses. Now you know your grocery stores, your convenience stores, your dollar stores, hardware stores even. All these places are going to be stripped of food within the first few hours of a major event. Just look at any hurricane-ridden area, Florida, Texas, anywhere along the coastline where a hurricane happens often. Anytime there's a hurricane warning in these areas, the stores are cleaned out within a matter of hours. I mean, cleaned out to the point where they don't even have anything in their stock rooms. So that's just going to be pointless. Don't even bother going into your local grocery store or whatever looking for food, because it's not going to be there. My strongest suggestion for finding food would be distribution centers. Now, we're talking Walmart distribution centers, food distribution centers. There's a lot of them that cater to certain types of food. Specialty distribution centers that cater to, there's one near me that is some kind of Asian cuisines they do. Now, when I say distribution centers, I mean the big warehouses. They're full of truck trailers, trucks. It's just a huge warehouse that has all the doors along the side, and there's probably trailers back into it. I could show you one. There's one right there. There's another one behind me. They're everywhere. Now, that being said, they are everywhere. And these warehouses, if you've ever been to a warehouse district of a city, such as Chicago, South Side, where I'm currently sitting, Indianapolis, it's the west side of Indianapolis, there's lots of warehouses. Cincinnati, I believe it's the north side of Cincinnati, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio. Anyway, I can name 1,000 cities. It makes no difference. Warehouse district of a city is going to have a lot of warehouses. They're all going to look exactly alike. Every one of them are going to look exactly alike. They're not going to be named anything that just screams, oh, we have a whole supply of food in here. So you're going to need to do your research beforehand to know what is in your area. You're going to need to know where your Walmart distribution centers are. You're going to need to know where your food distribution centers are, etc. So look that up now. Have a map. Have a paper map somewhere. Draw it on a piece of paper if you got to go that route. If you have a printer, print it out. Google Maps. You can make the little mark on it and print it out. It's the easiest way. You might want to laminate whatever you print just to make sure it's water resistant. Keep it in a Ziploc bag in case of massive flooding like is happening now everywhere. All right, so you know the average person needs at least 1 million calories a year, right? That's 2,000 to 3,000 calories per day for 365 days. That's roughly 1 million calories in a year. Finding food is going to be extremely important. So hit your distribution centers, and I'm going to give you a little walkthrough on how to do it. Don't bother walking into the warehouse. If there's a massive power outage, there's no power to the building, it's going to be really dark in the warehouse. Really dark, and it's going to echo like you would not believe. If you've ever been in any kind of situation where there is no ambient sound around you, like in the middle of winter, in the middle of the woods where there's not a bird or a bug making a sound, all you can hear is your heartbeat. It's going to be the same way without all the ambient noise of trucks driving in and out, warehouse equipment, airplanes, factories, whatever it is. So it's going to be very echoey in a warehouse. Walking through there, making a lot of noise, talking, whatever. You can sneak through warehouses, but you're not going to sneak a pallet of food out of a warehouse. That's just not going to happen. Also, it's going to be extremely dark. Warehouses tend to not have many windows. They have the little windows on the dock doors. They're about, I don't know, they're small. They're not enough to provide any light. And of course, you can bring your flashlight, and I always have mine with me. But even the ThruNite TC15 2000 lumen flashlight isn't going to light up a whole warehouse, and you just don't know what's lurking in there or who's lurking in there. You could be at a row of pallets or racks, as they tend to have racks that go all the way up to the ceilings, and these warehouses are huge. You can literally drive semi-trucks into them, so they're big. People can hide anywhere in these places. If it's dark and quiet in there, you could have a whole family of people hiding in one corner, and you wouldn't know it until they started shooting at you. So it's rather pointless, in my opinion, to go inside of a warehouse anyway, unless you have access to heavy equipment and you can move pallets. I mean, are you going to climb a rack that's 30 foot high up to the top and drop cans down to the floor and hope somebody catches them before they break? Sure, you could probably feasible to get away up there and get it down, but that's a lot of work for little turnover, in my opinion. The easiest thing to do is going to be able to is just walk outside of the warehouse. Walk around the outside. You're going to want, depending on the warehouse, the shipping or the receiving side. Typically at any warehouse, you have shipping on one side, you have receiving on the other. So if it's a food distribution warehouse, it caters to, let's just say, canned food. That's all they do is canned food. Go to the shipping side. These are going to be assorted cans of food in any of their loaded trailers. The shipping side is going to have a lot of loaded trailers. They might be in the dock door, which you're not going to be able to access because they're backed flush against the wall and you can't get in there. Not without going in the warehouse. I mean, unless you're cutting open the side of the trailer, which is possible, but it's not feasible, so don't bother. Warehouses always have parking lots like this one, where trailers are just parked. That's it. Those trailers, some of them are full, some of them are loaded. On the shipping side, they tend to mostly be full. And like I said, if it's a canned food distribution center, all of them are going to have assorted cans in them. On the receiving side, you're going to have a mix of loaded trailers and empty trailers. And every loaded trailer is going to have one type of thing in it. A canned food distribution center, for example, you're going to have a trailer that is just full of canned green beans. You're going to have another trailer full of canned corn, another trailer full of canned baked beans, just for example. And this is true at pretty much any distribution center. Now, when you go to Walmart has dedicated distribution centers for different products. Like they have in northeastern Indiana, I forget the name of the town, there is a Walmart distribution center that is cold storage. That's what they do. They do have some regular storage, but that's mostly for empty pallets and things that are unimportant to you at this point. Cold food storage facilities are going to be pointless. Don't bother, especially 2 weeks after a power outage. Power has been out for 2 weeks inside that storage facility. It's possible some of that food is still pretty cool. It really is possible, especially in the freezer section with the amount of room that they have and pallets being condensed and packed down real small. The center thing inside of a pallet that's got pallet or boxes all around it, the center box probably is still going to have a cold chicken in it. When all the chickens on the outside were frozen, they kept that one on the inside cool. You know the physics of it, whatever. Point of that is it's not useful to you. It's going to be rotted out, stink in there. You're not going to want to go in there. If 2 weeks, I'm going to guess and say about 2 weeks after, you're not going to want to walk into a cold food storage place. Anyway, because like I said, everything's just going to be decomposing at that point. So Walmart does have a lot of distribution centers. Typically, they're found nowhere near a major city. They're found within 100 miles of a major city because drivers will basically make that route from 100 miles out and come in and deliver to different Walmart stores within a city and go back to the distribution center. They do this on a daily basis, really. Any Walmart distribution center probably has 100 or more, probably 1,000 or more trucks coming in and out on a daily basis. Maybe not quite 1,000, but somewhere in the vicinity of 500 to 600 at least, depending on the size of the city they're catering to. Chicago, for example, has 4 Walmart distribution centers on the south end of the city that cater to just the south side of the city. Some of these are in Indiana, some of them are in Illinois. There are 3 distribution centers in northern Indiana that service Indianapolis, service Chicago, and I believe it's Columbus, Ohio. So that being said, unless you're capable of moving outside of a city, Walmart distribution centers are just not something touchable. Inside of cities, there are a lot of smaller warehouses and distribution centers throughout the warehouse district. As I've said, you're just going to have to find them. There's also food manufacturing facilities. Typically, these are not in cities either. You'll find these within 30-40 miles of a city. They want to be able to still cater to the population with having their employees not so far away, so they're probably near a small town or in a small town, or they are the small town. I've been to several distribution centers or manufacturing facilities, such as Nestle. Nestle's a good one. I've picked up loads of water from Nestle. So you're going to find trailers full of water at any of these Nestle places, for example, if you live anywhere near one, that is. Or if you happen to know where something like Dannon makes water. They have water bottles. Nestle, I don't know, whatever it is. You can think of whatever brand you shop for. Kroger brand, I believe, comes from Kroger distribution centers, but I don't know who bottles it. It doesn't really matter. Point of the matter is you're going to find lots of water at those facilities. Now, these are very secured facilities. If you've ever seen some of the Nestle plants, they have very large fences with razor wire around the top. They have armed security. They have security systems that rival military bases. Believe me, I've been in military bases. I have been in distribution centers. I have been in the food manufacturing facilities. The food manufacturing facilities probably has more security than the military base. This is fact. What's more valuable? Your equipment to kill things or your ability to keep your soldiers alive? So you just take your pick. So if you're at Walmart distribution centers, receiving and shipping sides are going to be a little different than we talked about earlier. The shipping side is going to have still the same dedicated trailers. It's going to have a certain amount of, or a certain thing on it. It's going to come from a certain warehouse. Paper trailers, for example. You're going to have toilet paper, paper towel, paper products on one trailer. On the other side of that, on the receiving, this is general merchandise. They're going to have one trailer that's going to have a lot of different things. It's going to have food, it's going to have ammunition, it's going to have water, it's going to have clothes, it's going to have gas cans. I mean, you just don't know. It's a crapshoot, really, when you go there. One tool you're probably going to need at a distribution center is bolt cutters, because most trailers have very large, thick bolts on the back. Well, they're not that thick. They're about as thick as my finger. A normal set of bolt cutters will chew right through them really easy. Fortunately, at any distribution center, you're going to find yard trucks, and if I see one driving around, I'll show it to you. But a yard truck typically has a set of bolt cutters in them. If not, the receiving side, receiving office. If you go into the receiving office, which, it's questionable, make sure you bring a light and a gun. But in SHTF, just inside of any receiving office door, there's typically bolt cutters sitting there. So you don't have to lug, a 30-pound set of bolt cutters around with you. You can find it in a yard truck like his. That's a yard truck. Or yard spotter, yard dog, they're sometimes called. You're going to find bolt cutters, not in that one, because this is not a food distribution center. They don't even use seals, more or less bolt seals, so don't expect it here. But most food distribution centers are going to have yard trucks with bolt cutters. You will also find bolt cutters at the manufacturing facilities near their receiving department. Every manufacturing facility has to receive in goods to make what they're making. So if you're baking bread, they have receiving. Receiving is where all the flour gets shipped to. So they have big tankers actually of flour coming into these places that's pumped out. That's one example. Tankers don't have seals on them, but they also have empty cans. How are they canning the food without the cans or with the lids? I mean, they have bolt cutters typically. And if you don't have bolt cutters, Walmart sells them. You can get them at, Harbor Freight. You could get it at Lowe's, at Home Depot. You can get the ones that are about, 3 feet, about 3 feet long. They're not very heavy. You could attach it to your bug out bag or your looting bag. I don't know. Anyway, you could attach it to a backpack and take it with you. If you know you're going to collect food, probably bring a cart or something. My guess. But let's recap. We're not going after houses, because that's suicide. You're not going to walk into a warehouse, especially if it's recent SHTF. Like 2 weeks later, 2 weeks to a month later, don't go into warehouses, because somebody's probably made that their house and they're eating what's in there and they're now defending it. So you could possibly walk into a warehouse that just looks normal and calm and quiet on the outside, and you get inside and you find a whole gang of teenagers in there with guns, and they don't like you already, and you're probably not going to survive that. So walking into dark places that you are unfamiliar with is always a bad idea. Walking into somebody's home and not knowing what's behind the next door, always a bad idea. So stick to the trailers. There's always trailers loaded at every one of these distribution centers, every one of these warehouses, even every one of the manufacturing facilities that are full. They're always full of something, whether it be food, water, ammunition. You can find anything in a trailer. Anything that's ever been shipped to your house, anything that you ever seen at a Walmart or at a Target or at a Sam's Club. It all came in a trailer from a truck, all of it. The car you're driving came off of a trailer and a truck. So anything you need to find, you can find it in a trailer of a truck. All right, that's enough for today. Remember, it's grim out there, and it's grim in here too. Have fun.